So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Chief Eddie Garcia. Eddie came from Austin, where he was doing work as assistant city manager. Prior to that, he was police chief in some other city. I don't remember. But we'll let him keep that secret and talk to you about Fort Worth and policing, and you'll get a chance to answer some of your questions. Chief, please come up.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? Good. Doing all right? Are we all calmed down from Halloween last night? All right. Yeah, my kids were older, or else this would have been a rough morning with all the candy. But again, honored to be here, speaking to you all. Really excited since I got to Fort Worth, and really excited just to get back in uniform. Just a little bit about me. I'll just talk a little bit about myself, talk about the direction of the department, what I see, and things of that nature, and we'll go from there. But a little bit about myself. Born in Puerto Rico, moved to California, learned how to speak English in California, worked for the San Jose Police Department there in California for about 29 years. I was a police chief there for almost 5 years. And then ended up coming to the city 30 miles east, which there's two things that I always talk to people. I don't know what part they don't like about me more, that I came from California or that I spent time in Dallas. It's kind of a toss-up. Ryan, see, I can't get the third one. That's 2 strikes. That's not, oh, come on. No. But listen, a few things that I'll discuss really with the differences between having been in California and then obviously in Texas. And I'll say this, and we joke about Dallas, and I know about the friendly competition. Trust me, when I was there, I knew the competition. Now that I'm here, I'm on the other side of the competition. I say this, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for the men and women of the Dallas Police Department. I compete, I keep it light, we joke about it. But if it wasn't for the amazing work that those men and women did on every single day, I would not be standing here. My time in Austin as an assistant city manager, I thought that I was done wearing this uniform. I was not. I missed it. Coming back and putting this uniform on, like days like this morning, I tell you, I've been a police officer for a very long time. You'll probably end up doing the math, but I've been a cop since 1992. Why I say that, because I know we'll have an academy graduation soon, right? And I'll ask everybody, hey, raise your hand if you were born before 1992. And I used to say that as a joke because there was only a few people, and now when the entire class raises their hands, I hurt my own feelings. So, been a cop since 1992. I've seen the profession change quite a bit, right? And as we start this, I was born to be a cop. And it took me a while to realize the fact that I was born to be a cop. As I'm putting my uniform on this morning, I still feel like that 21-year-old kid that put his uniform on for the first time, and I say, man, I can't believe this, right? I talk about this all the time. I'm a cop first. I'm a chief second, all right? I will tell you, I did a podcast in the city, 30 miles east, as I was leaving, and one of the individuals that talked about it said, you know what, Chief? You are an old street cop masquerading as a 4-star chief. And, to me, I don't know if any chief in the country wouldn't want to hear that from their rank and file, right? Because I just learned how to be a chief, just coming up and doing the work, right? I'm not going to go through my entire background. I'm sure you guys have done that, but I've worked in a lot of places in the department, and what I just do is I learn from actually experience. I didn't go to a lot of fancy schools. I didn't go to, God bless individuals that go to the FBI Academy and better themselves. I never did, because the first time I got asked to go, I was coaching my kids who were a lot younger in Little League, right? So I told the chief I can't go. The next time they asked me to go, I was coaching my kids in Pee Wee football. I go, I can't go. Well, generally speaking, at least back in those days, if you said no to the chief twice from going to the FBI Academy, your career was probably going to be there, right? Because it was a sign that you didn't want to grow and things of that nature, which I don't believe in that. But, it's funny, because I was telling this story when my son was getting married. My oldest son was getting married, and now actually I have a grandson, so we go fast forward. But man, I don't know what I would have learned from those classes, right? But I remember every home run, and I remember every touchdown. And if I was to do it all over again, I would do it the same way I did it. Because I tell people all the time, right? I came to become a chief in a different path. Not the typical path that you may see other chiefs go through. And not to say it's wrong, but it's just say I got here differently, right? And that's okay. right? I was given chances and opportunities by people that believed in me, and I want to be able to do that, right? Because the job of anyone that when you get there is to open the door for the next person and kind of let them see that. And so that time in Austin was incredibly eye-opening. I mean, to be able to have spent almost a year there from an assistant city manager perspective to kind of see it from the other side, right? I would always, as police chief, complain and like, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And then when I was on the other side, it does give you a good understanding that, you know what, when you're in that, like, we look at ourselves as a department, right? We're part of a team, right? And all collectively have to build this together, right? So that was a great experience. But to be frank, right, I could not think of a better city to put this uniform back on for. I got drawn back to the profession, and it is a dream to have been able to come to Fort Worth. One of the differences between California and Texas, and I say this all the time, and I've said this since the time I've got here, is the support that we get here. Like, there's an advantage sometimes to coming in from the outside because you're not used to things like this, right? But when I got to Texas, right, and you hear the support that we get in this state doesn't happen everywhere. I remember an opportunity that I had, one of my officers, when I first got to Texas, got the Star of Texas Award. So we're down in Austin, and Governor Abbott gives a speech to all the rank and file that's there. Governor Abbott, as he speaks to law enforcement, this tremendous support that he gives us. And I walk on stage with my officer, and I said, you know what, Governor, I've never heard those words from a governor before about the support for law enforcement, so thank you very much. So he looks at me and he goes, where are you from? Yes, that is always the punchline. And I go, sir, I'm from California. And he goes, yeah, we're a little different out here. I go, yes, sir, we are. And it's a great story, a true story that I love to say. But that's the biggest difference that we have here. And so when you look at the fact that, in my opinion, we are in the most supportive state of public safety in the country, I am here to tell you, because I've been to other cities, that we sit in the most supportive, largest city in the most supportive state in the country. Right. And I would completely take that, and I'm part of the Major City Chiefs Association, which is an association made up of all the major chiefs of the United States and Canada. And I would go toe-to-toe with any one of them if they were to tell me that their city is more supportive than this city is here. Yes, we need to be professional. Yes, we need to conduct ourselves in a constitutionally just manner to all of our communities, but our communities don't want us to go away, and we have tremendous support here. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at my goals for the department, there's really generally three goals usually. Number one is the reduction of crime. All right. Number two is increasing morale. Right. And number three is community trust. All right. Those are generalized, but we go a lot deeper. When it comes to reduction of crime, I've been working with criminologists for a very long time, probably since like 2013, 2014, working with criminologists for a myriad of reasons. One of the reasons that I work with criminologists is reduction of crime, right? And one of the things that we see, and we oftentimes as police chiefs really in the past, is we never really used criminologists as much because I think all of us kind of thought we know what we're doing. I've done this job now, this is like my 34th year in law enforcement. I go, I know what I'm doing. I this and that and the other. And that when we talk about we can't be the smartest people in the room, that can't just be cliche. I really want that to be. So working with the criminologist to figure out what around the country is working. What strategies have you seen that are working? And so I've teamed up, and we're teaming up again with criminologists from the University of Texas San Antonio, Dr. Mike Smith and Dr. Rob Tillier, that have been working with me for a very long time. And we come up with a crime plan. It's not basic, really. It's made up of three parts. The first part is called grid work, and it's hotspot policing. And hotspot policing is literally one of the only criminological strategies that has been effective in the last 25 years. But what we do in our plan, which is different than some, is our hotspots are small. All right, I'm here to tell you it's very few neighborhoods in our city that represent a large amount of the violent crime or the crime that occurs in the city. And it's the same with individuals. 100 robberies, 100 aggravated assaults are not committed by 100 different people. Okay, and that's a criminological fact, right? And so when we look at that, we want to be very surgical. into the areas that we do that. Because to me, we're not this is not a stop and frisk plan. This is not an oversaturation, stop everything that moves plan. This is a presence, and this is intelligence-led policing. Being present in areas where we know that crime happens, okay? And in those particular areas, having intelligence-led policing that tells you where you need to go. Where are the drug houses? Where are the active gang members at? Where are the game rooms? And those type of things, right, that lead to crime, and being surgical about it. Because at the end of the day, the measure of success is not crime going down and community trust going down. It's not. It's crime going down and community trust going up. And what we have found, particularly when we're dealing with smaller pockets in hotspots, we found community trust increases. Because as hard as our proactive units will be working in these particular areas, so will our community outreach teams. Because the first time the community sees us can't be in moments of crisis. All right, and so we want to infuse possibility, because the neighborhoods, I have not been to a community meeting impacted by violent crime or crime, regardless of language spoken, racial makeup, or economic status, that I had ever heard the words, "We want to see less of you" in our neighborhoods. It's never happened. Whether I was in California or here in Texas, I've never heard those words from neighborhoods. All right, and I say neighborhoods for a reason, because neighborhoods are neighborhoods. I'm very careful about community, because we start talking about community and you have individuals, particularly in this area, that don't live anywhere near here, that don't live in the issues that are facing neighborhoods, but then yet have a different opinion than the people that actually live there. And so I'm always very careful when I speak to neighborhoods and I speak to communities and neighborhoods, and I like going out to the neighborhoods. I would prefer coming out here than having this entire meeting at the Bob. All right, and this was only 19 minutes from my house, so this is, and I found it. That's, hey, give me props on that. And so when we look at that from that perspective, and I will tell you this, so when you look, and I'll give you a perfect example, in the city of Dallas, we broke up into about 101,000 grids, and these grids that I'm talking to you about are no bigger than 2 football fields. And we were able to treat anywhere from 40 to 60 of 101,000 grids. Now, I'm not a math guy, or else I probably wouldn't be standing here if I was, but 40 to 60 out of 101,000 is not a very high percentage, right? But those 40 to 60 grids were responsible for approximately 7 to 10% of the city's overall violent crime. So what the strategy is, if we reduce crime in those areas, the entire city will see results. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the premise of it is, right? And so I don't see it being any different here in the city of Fort Worth, but also understanding that different parts of the city have different issues, right? I mean, yes, there's some violent crime that occurs everywhere throughout our city, but you may have other issues up here. Maybe it's more property crime issues. All right, than other areas of the city that we still have to concentrate on things. So although the general plan will always be lives, let's save lives, always first, there are other dynamics in other parts of the city that we also have to pay attention to, right? Homelessness, as an example, and what derives out of that, right? The fact that we need to have passion and we need to have compassion, but there also comes a time for enforcement. All right, that we also need to work with our HOPE team, with our city teams, all right, to ensure that there's both, right? Because we have to have compassion for both. We want to have compassion for individuals and get them set on the right path. We also have to have compassion for our neighborhoods and our businesses, right? So when we talk about hope, when we talk about compassion, you'll hear me say, we need hope, we need compassion, we need hope for both. All right, so making sure that we're working with city, making sure what's going on around the country. Right, I was at a conference in Denver, and apparently, like, Denver has reduced their homeless population and their crime rate in downtown Denver by like double-digit percentage points. So one of the first things I did, I got a hold of Ron Thomas, who's the chief of Denver. I go, Ron, we're getting on a meeting here soon, and I'm getting on a meeting with him soon with our criminologist to go, what did you guys do there, right? Because we want to take and learn. I want to be the first to do things, don't get me wrong, but also if things are working, we're going to see how they can make them work here. And when I hear success stories such as that, I'd be remiss not to say we need to sit down in a room. Because again, I got to take this supportive city out for a spin because I'm in the most supportive city in the state of Texas. And I can guarantee you if there are plans that at work, people will listen, right? And so those are things that we want to do from that front. So we reevaluate these grids every 30 to 60 days. One of the things that we saw, we started treating the grids for 60 days, right? And what we started seeing, because we have the criminologists that are constantly evaluating, is we started seeing that crime started dropping we started 90 days. What the criminologists in us saw was that crime started reducing after 60 days. So after a while, we said, okay, well, if it's reducing after 60 days, then that gives us an opportunity to then move to the next one, all right? And again, let me tell you this, police departments, we're the fever reducers. We're the Tylenol, we're the Advil that you take to reduce the fever. We are not a cure to the illness. Right. All right, there is no criminologist anywhere that's going to tell you that crime, violent crime in particular, does not revolve around poverty, lack of education, lack of jobs, family structure, food deserts. We can throw mental illness in there. We can throw substance abuse in there, and obviously the cross-section of mental illness and substance abuse as it has to do with our homeless population is something that we definitely have to look at as well. But as you look at all those issues, how are we going to solve those issues? Right? We collectively, we'll reduce the fever, but it's no different than having a long-term fever. At one point, you can't continue to take Tylenol and Advil. At one point, doctor has to say, here's the root of the cause. We need to cure that. We know the cure. And now, so I'll say this, when crime goes up, it is not on my men and women solely. When crime goes down, it is not on my men and women solely. It is a collective effort. So when it goes up, you know what, we all need to combine and work together because you all know, I've only been here a little over a month, but I know how hard they work. You know how hard they work. So you know it's not for a lack of effort, right? So, and then when it goes down, you know, we will never take all the credit either. All right, they do an amazing job and they always have. But we won't take all the credit either. It's a collective of all the city departments, and the city manager has made it clear we are a team and we will help each other out. The next part of the crime plan is called place network investigations. And what place network investigations is looking at areas that have historically been issues in the city, that have a wider footprint. It could be a strip mall. It could be a large apartment complex that has been a problem here, and there are some that I already know in this city that have been problems here for decades, okay? So you look at that area once and for all, and now the police department is just a cog in the wheel. Because you look at that and you go, what other city services do we need? Do we need homeless solutions out here? Do we need parks and rec out here? Do we need streets and traffic out here? Do we need better lighting? Do we need to activate the park? Do we need to get city legal on board because there's irresponsible landlords that we need to, and so as you start seeing do we need code enforcement? As you start seeing, it's a pretty powerful team that you got. And we're just a cog in the wheel. And so the city manager already is very, very excited about a plan like that. And it's based on a criminological strategy, right? So when you start seeing those things, that's when you start dealing with the illness. Right? When you start bringing all the city departments on board, because, you know, we can reduce crime and other things, but man, if the lights are still out, if you got abandoned buildings, if you have parks that, you know, that are dangerous, you know, it's not going to work. So we need to ensure so that's place network investigations, right? And then the last piece is focused deterrence. Focused deterrence. And again, all these plans have been shown to work. Now, I think the difference between what we did is we put them together and in the specific order. The last plan is, again, focused deterrence. And focused deterrence is a strategy by way you bring individuals that would be susceptible to a life of violent crime. And I'm not talking about petty theft, and I'm not talking about people that spit on the sidewalk. I'm talking about individuals that are the shot callers in our city. I'm talking about individuals that are on probation or parole for aggravated assault. I'm talking about gang members that are out on bond or bail for aggravated assault. And as of their conditions, we have what's called call-in sessions, right? And so we have a room, sometimes as full as this, and we give them 2 messages. We tell them, I bring everybody. I bring the DA, I bring the USA, I bring the FBI, I bring ATF, I bring DEA, and I go, we're not going to allow you to hurt our city. And I will use every tool that I have to ensure the residents of Fort Worth are safe. I will not let you hurt our community, okay? I will not. And normally I'll have a previous ATF SAC, Jeff Boschek, would always speak to the group and tell them very honestly what the penalties are when it goes federally with a gun case and drugs or a gun case and other things. And we're already working closely with the FBI on other strategies that we can do to ensure that we go after the right individuals and ensure they can't hurt our community. And so we tell them that. We'll have moms that have lost their children to gun violence. Talk to the group. We'll have individuals that used to be in that life that now have found God and found a better path and purpose that will tell them it's possible to get out. Then, the flip side of that, we tell them, listen, but if you want help, if you want to get out of this life, we want to have programs to help you get out of that life. If you need a job, if you need job training, if you need help with substance abuse, if you need mental health training, if your kids need diapers, if you need to help getting your driver's license because you just got out of prison, we want to have a system set for you if you want to succeed to help you succeed. Because here's a dynamic, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, whether you think that's too much or whether something is too little, if those individuals fail, they won't fail because they spit on the sidewalk. They're not going to go back to prison for that. They're not going to go back to prison because they ran a red light. They're going to go back to prison because someone else in our community has been victimized. So it would behoove us all to try to bring those services for them. Now, I will tell you this, with our CCPD funding, we have to bring everyone's strengths together. With our CCPD funding, we are mandated as it is to have service providers that could provide those services. And so I will tell you, when I started this crime plan out, those tools weren't available. I am so excited not only with the technology that we have here that I've never seen before, which I can't wait to tap into from a crime fighting perspective, from the funding that we have to give to outside providers, particularly with the plan that we have with focused deterrence, that we already mandated to do that, and now we can fit that into a crime plan. Like, this is probably the bad way to say it, but I feel like a kid in a candy store. Like, honestly, because when we started this crime plan out, I didn't have any of these resources. We were just like, okay, well, let's push this, let's push that, and let's see what we can do, right? And so that's really from an overall crime fighting perspective. When we talk about morale in the department, it's my job, right, to ensure that our officers feel valued, all right? That they want to come to work. All right. I hope that they feel the way I felt for 34 years. I hope they feel that I came back from a behind the desk job, okay, that was 9 to 5, and people have called me nuts for doing that. And they don't understand what's in my heart. They don't understand this. I identify myself like this. I could be sitting at home right now doing nothing, but I love doing this. I want them to feel that way. I don't know what happened throughout my career. I must have good leaders, or the department would say, but like, I've never felt wearing this uniform. There are rough times. There are rough times. Not gonna lie to you, but man, I tell you, I don't think I've ever worked a day in my life. I love what I do. I want them to love what they do. But in order to do that, they need support, right? They need to know, because we'd be dead in the water if we didn't have amazing police officers doing amazing work, being proactive in going into our communities. And I can't force them to do that. I can force them to answer the 911 call for service. I can't make an officer risk their lives at 3 a.m. to do something, an investigatory car stop or a proactive. I can't force them to do that. The only way and the reason they'll do that is if they know that if chaos or crisis hits, that they're going to be judged fairly. They only do that with the trust that their administration and their city, if they're right, are going to back them, regardless what the outside noise is. And we need that. All right? When we look at growth, we need to get more resources here. We talk about the growth of the department. Well, I'm here to tell you our recruiting is doing very well. I think we have like over 50 that start on Monday. I think we have nearly almost something around 4,000 applications for the next academy that, again, through backgrounds, I'm hoping that we get 60 or 70 in that. That's my hope, right? We should be fully staffed at 1906. I say fully staffed in quotes. We should be fully staffed by the end of next year. All right, and that's great. But I say that in quotes, all right, because I know for a fact we just annexed some areas, right? And the growth of our city, which we should be proud of, we want to grow. I remember I was at a meeting last week, I think, with Mayor Moncrief had mentioned that when he was mayor, I think Fort Worth was like 23rd, 24th largest in the country. And then there's only been 2 mayors after him, and now we're the 10th. We're not stopping. I don't want us to stop, right? But with that, we also have to plan ahead, right? We also have to look, okay, if we were at 1906 with this size of a city, and as we grow, we also have to think ahead about, okay, let's talk about what does that look like for the department, right? And so that's very important for us to grow, and as our officers feel that support, right? Trying to come up with different programs. I mean, I lay awake at night, trying to figure out, particularly with patrol, with our officers that work patrol, with our officers that are out there every day answering the 911 call for service. I'm here to tell you the number one job of any police department is answering the 911 call for service. Now, I say this having been, and I didn't go through my whole background, but having been in special operations pretty much my career. I've spent more time in special operations units than I did in patrol, but my heart's in patrol because I know that my job in special operations was to make their job easier. And we have to have that mindset. And so ensuring that they feel supported is incredibly important, especially when, listen, we're going to hold ourselves accountable. All right, there's no question about it. We're going to hold ourselves, when we're wrong, and I'll stand up and say we're wrong. I will. But when we're right, regardless of the outside noise, I'm going to say we're right. Right? And these men and women know they're no different. When they see something on body cam, as an example, that you are aghast at, my men and women are aghast at it as well, if it's something legitimately wrong. And I will say this, and you look not just here, but around the country as well, we have been our own worst enemy. All right? We have failed many times, and we need to recognize that we failed. All right? The fact that I can sit here and tell you we have failed as a profession, right, while at the same time saying that I support my men and women in the proactive police work they do every day, those are not two mutually exclusive terms. I can care about community trust and ensuring that we build those bonds while at the same time wanting my men and women to go out and get the criminal element off our streets. Those aren't mutually exclusive. And the issue is oftentimes you'll see a chief like me either speak about one more about the other, when it has to be both. Because again, as I mentioned earlier with the community meetings that I've gone to, impacted by crime, they don't want us to go away. They just want us to be professional. And I'm not saying this is about Fort Worth. We have to talk about from a global perspective, from a national perspective. Because I tell you, if something bad happens, I don't want to wish it on any of my good friends, so I'm not going to say their names, but I know most of the major chiefs in the country. But if it happens anywhere, it doesn't matter how far east or west, south or north you go in this country, if something negative happens there, it's going to impact us here, right? So we all have to work at that, right? So continue to do that, continue to build, making sure that, I call my Fridays are my Lincoln on Leadership Fridays, right? So on Fridays in the morning, I'll do some admin, and then in the afternoon, I go out and I'll go do something. Yesterday, I did a podcast. The week before, I rode out in horse mounted, because I am going to ride a horse on the stock show, for the stock show. You will, if you're out there, you will see me on the parade. I promise you that. So, but I've ridden out with narcotics. I've gone on patrol. So I really want to be out there. I want to get amongst my people because I am one of them. And they need to see me as one of them. I did not get here in the same fashion others have gotten here. And I'm proud of that, and not to say any other way is wrong. But I like to think I got here the way a cop would want to get here if they wanted to get here. Yes, there's things that I learned along the way throughout my career. Community is incredibly important. We can't lose that trust. The fact that I can walk in here, the fact that I can walk in anywhere in this city that I have for the last month and a half or so that I've been here, again, regardless language spoken, racial makeup, economic status, and rooms are crowded and I'm getting questions and I'm getting head nods, that's a gift. That is a precious gift that our department has in our community that we can't betray. Because as I will tell my men and women, and I'll tell this type of love that you have for your department, the love and the great stories I've heard about the relationship with your MPOs, that doesn't happen everywhere. And I guess if I can fill a role with my rank and file, my folks to know that I've been in a lot of places, and I can tell you honestly, we cannot forsake that gift. That's not to say, again, when we're right, we're right. But when we're wrong, we're wrong. And we need to ensure that we take things personal. I take it personal, right? And so this doesn't happen, and we have to recognize all the great that we have, that we don't want to lose it, all right? But there is an expectation. And the expectation is that we are fair and just in the way we administer the law in our community, and that we are active in our community, both ensuring our communities don't see us in a moment of crisis, but also ensuring our men and women are taking the criminal element off the streets. I know Fort Worth, our goal in Fort Worth is to be the safest, largest city in the country, all right? I know we have the tools, we have community support, we have council support, we have mayor support. I know that, and we have amazing men and women. That's a pretty good combo to get to where we want to be. All right, so I know I talked a lot, and I only had one cup of coffee, mind you. I only had one cup of coffee. I probably could have done this without one, but I'm good. I might have another one in a minute. But are there questions?
A question and a request. You talked about, the police department being like one cog of the wheel, and thank you for being here also, and everyone else, thank you. The police is one cog of a wheel that, involves code and another thing. What I've noticed a lot of time is that it's like there's an issue that comes up, the cog gets created, but then there's no leader in that cog, and eventually things kind of just fizzle out. It's like, oh, that issue went away. We don't have to worry about that issue. Who takes the lead when, like the police force, for example, or the code notices that there's an area that needs to be looked at? And then, so that's the question, like who takes the lead? And then the second is the request. Can you help support getting a good Puerto Rican restaurant?
Claro que sí. Vamos a hablar después de esto. Oh, yes. That was well played. Well played, sir. ¿De dónde eres?
Yo soy de Florida, pero mi papá es de Guamo.
Okay. Nací en Santurce. Anyway, that was Spanish for his dad. He was from Florida. He was born in one part of Puerto Rico. I was born in Santurce. Anyway, a great question. So I will say this, back up, right? So even before, like the city manager was already ahead. He's established the assistant to the city manager is that glue that binds everyone together on general projects. Okay, so that's happening. But when we do it from a police perspective, we'll have a coordinator, right? But again, there's steps. We have to reduce the fever first, then P&I, and then focus deterrence. And so we'll end up having coordinators for that. Now, I will say everything we do is going to be data driven. Everything we do is going to be data driven. All right, because as an example, when we look at violent crime grids, because again, I don't want anyone to get nervous here because I recognize that other places have other issues that may not be crime. But let's say you're a violent crime grid. To be a violent crime grid in the city, you have to have led the city in incidents of aggravated assault, incidents of aggravated robbery, and murder. To be a violent crime grid, you have to lead those. We're going to be data driven. There might be different metrics and parameters for other areas in the city with regards to where we want focus, all right? Because not everywhere in the city, has the same necessary issues. With always being and we pivot so well here. And I know the commander's done an amazing job that when things are happening up here, like he'll pivot and we'll get our specialized units. And he does it so well that we meet Mondays and Fridays for our CompStat meetings. He does it so well up here that he takes about 30 seconds about what's going, and because he's on it. He's on it. And he is so proud of his community up here. He's really proud. So I was going to say this as a joke, but don't take, but what I'm hearing is that don't do a rotation on commanders. Don't do that? Okay, all right. Don't do one, Sean, you're safe, you're good. No, it's amazing. And commanders need to know their neighborhoods, man. And so you won't have to worry about that. I mean, they need to know, and he knows this place inside and out, and he's schooled me up on it. But no, we'll have that glue. Like right now, it's already happening because the city manager made it a priority. Now, the beauty about the fact that we've already somewhat started this in some other areas that the city manager implemented is that it's incredibly important. As a matter of fact, it's the most important piece is to have in our initial meeting the boss sitting in there and saying, this is my priority. And when the boss came in and said, this is my, let me tell you, if you don't have that, it is very sometimes difficult director to director, and not because they're ignoring, but because they have their own priorities, right? And so sometimes it's hard to drop things for that. But when you have the boss saying, this is my priority, we all drop what our priorities are for what the boss's priority. And that's what the city manager has already done. So, and again, I will say, I know we talk about it, but we're one of the first to implement this crime plan in Dallas. We're one of the first. We learned a lot. This is one of the best parts with working with the same criminologists. We've learned so much, particularly in the area of P&I, right? On how we need in those particular areas. Not only do you need presence, but you need to have specific units dedicated to the criminal intelligence of what's going on in those areas. So we've learned a lot, right? So I think you're going to see a 2.0 version that I'm really excited about. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
I had a compliment and a concern. Compliment the.
Well, let's start with the bad and go with the compliment.
Okay.
Go with the concern first, and then we'll end it on a positive.
I love that you said each neighborhood is different. I'm in Presidio Village, about 5 minutes from here. In our neighborhood, the concern isn't adults, but it's kids. And the kids / landlord, tenant, renters kind of thing. So I didn't know what your plan was, because I know dealing with under 18 is different, obviously, than dealing with an adult. But how do you handle that from our concern from an HOA perspective is it can deteriorate the neighborhood, which can bring property value down, and that's what no one wants.
Well, I mean, I think there's short-term, long-term strategies. I'll say this. First of all, what are the issues, right? Number one, trying to drill down exactly what the issues are, because similar to, even for us, right? And keep going back, staying with the fever reducer type of thing. Like, what are the symptoms so that we know how to treat it, right? I mean, we don't treat everything the exact same way, right? Obviously, when you, in general, when you're talking about youth crime or youth issues, one of the things I like to partner with is with the schools. Right? Because you show me an issue that happened in 34 years, if there's one thing that I know, I mean, if you partner with, there's nothing that happens in a neighborhood that did not roll over, let me just say this, I don't want to speak hyperbole. There's very few things that happen in a neighborhood involving youth that did not start out at the school. Very often, school issues roll into the community issues. So having a close-knit relationship, which I think we do, with our school districts to ensure that we are always trying to share information. Obviously, there's some information that we may not be able to share, but certainly they can share things with us with regards to how the climate is. Are there some groups that are having issues with each other? That's information we need to know. So then that way we can deal with that in a positive way, in a prevention way. I don't want to get to the intervention strategy. I want to get to the prevention strategy, right? But when it comes to that particular issue, when it comes to youth and youth crime and things of that nature, my general view is law enforcement and public safety has always been about three things: prevention, intervention, and suppression. We do suppression very well. God bless you. We do intervention okay, right? And when I say we do intervention okay, is okay if you have someone that's gotten into trouble and you put them in a program and then they don't get in trouble anymore, then that brings up the value of whatever program they went into, right? But where we fall short, I think, in my opinion, and this is not just here, it's nationally, everywhere I've been, is in prevention, right? In that, and I get it. We are, when it comes to dollars and cents and people find what program's best or whatever, well, it's very hard to gauge. Well, the thinking is that it's very hard to gauge a program that you're giving kids before they've even gotten in trouble. Like, how can you gauge that, right? I really call it a cop-out a little bit, right? Because we're into the quick fixes so much, right? And so what I challenge is that let's look at our zip codes in the city that we know are overrepresented in crime, incarceration, and victimization. Okay, let's look at that, right? And I'll tell you a true story. So the #1 crime grid in the city of Dallas was an area near Overton, Illinois, in South Central Dallas. That was the #1 crime grid, unfortunately, in the city at the time. I remember waking up one morning and talking to Dr. Hinojosa, who was the superintendent of DISD at the time, and asked him, hey, Mike, what grammar school do those kids go to? So he tells me the grammar school that those kids go to, and I went to those schools, right? And we adopted the schools, and to make a long story short, I remember walking into 2nd and 4th grade, right? I didn't see gangsters. I didn't see drug dealers. I saw kids respectful of their teachers, excited when we walked in. And then I walk out of there and I had a somber moment. Because remember, I'm dealing with the #1 crime grid in the city of Dallas at the time. And I've already told you what it takes to be a grid as it is, and this was the #1 grid. So I got out a little somber and I go, man, and here's the reality. If we ran the percentages, we know that there's gonna be a percentage of these kids that aren't gonna make it. Not next week. We're in a what are you doing for me now society. Not next year, not in 5 years. But we need to do prevention programs now that the successes or failures aren't gonna manifest themselves today or in a year. They're gonna manifest themselves when those kids graduate high school. When they either go on to college or take on a trade. When I could start looking at the numbers in that zip code are not leading the city in incarceration and victimization. But that takes years. And we need to get out of the mindset of quick fixes and look at like data and not be afraid to talk about it. And so that's kind of my general sense when it comes particularly with youth crime. And I'm passionate about the fact that we need to do more in the prevention space, the right individuals, the right organizations in that prevention space, and not give up. And have the trust that no, we're not gonna see the results in 5 years. The results of dealing with a 4th grader and 2nd grader, because if we're not doing it there, by the time they're freshmen in high school, it's too late. If they're gonna go down a bad path, the only thing, if we wait that long, is for intervention. You're not preventing anything in your freshman year in high school, right? But with that comes our responsibility. I've been with kids. I've done events with kids where one day I'm taking a kid, it was Shop with a Cop event in Dallas, and I'm taking my little 2nd grader, and as we're walking into class, he turns to me and goes, I heard gunshots last night. And I go, you did, buddy? Oh, I'm sorry. And then we have fun and stuff, right? But think about that. Having a kid, we want them to be successful in life, and they're going to bed hearing gunshots, right? And then you wonder, we know there's areas in our city here that will never hear a gunshot unless they turn on the TV. Right? We have a responsibility there as well, collectively, with the community. I'm like, and that little boy acted like it was just a normal thing. And luckily we were able to get more concentrated, but think about the trauma, really. The little kid has to deal with that, and then we expect them to study. Then we expect them their parents either to walk him to school, take him to school, and everything's great. Like, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, people get frustrated with me. I bring a lot into police work only because I've seen a lot of things, and those little instances get to me, and that's why we do what we do, so that little boy doesn't have to listen to so many gunshots and can concentrate on going to school.
So I live in a community, actually Creekwood right over here, that is split between Saginaw and Fort Worth, and the Fort Worth portion is in the back. All the entrances are in Saginaw. So do you team with Saginaw to deal with, let's say, a community like mine?
Well, I'll say, I would say we should or we do, but I'll let Commander Kenjura talk about it. But I'm sure we do. And he's spoken about it, actually. We talked about it at our staff meeting on Thursday, that there is coordination. But if you want to
Just a broad overview. North Division, 3 counties, touches 9 cities. We have relationships with all 9 cities and their police. Saginaw is in constant communication with the beat officer, the MPO officers for that area. We do communicate on the weekly basis. So if you're experiencing issues in an area that both of us serves, we're both going to know about it. I mean, Rusty can vouch for me on this one. I talk to Rusty usually about once a week, just because I know that he'll have information I don't have from the HOAs. My guys talk to their counterparts daily, generally. And we, if it's Haltom City or if it's Saginaw or if it's, even now Justin PD, they're getting bigger. So they've reached out. We met with them. We're not touching yet, but we're still having the same activity. So communication is huge for me, because if I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it. Does that make sense? And along with that is y'all. I always tell everybody, if your car gets broken into, you're missing change out of the ashtray, make a police report. I don't know if anything's going on unless it's reported. And so I always encourage everyone, make that report. I don't care if I got 100,000 reports. The chief's not going to get mad at me because I have a bunch of reports. He's going to get mad at me if I don't do anything about them. And if y'all are out here and you say I have an issue that's going unaddressed. But long answer, yes, sir, we stay in communication with everyone. And if you notice that there's an issue, please get with your MPO, get with Billy Wright, get with me, let us know. Because that's a main priority of mine, to make sure that we know what's going on at all times with all of our partners.
How do you deal with a park like this, which is, because we've had some issues in this park, gunshots, and a lot of it's in the wild.
The way we've been doing it recently is if we start having, like along the beach corridor, we've had a lot of homeless camps, we've had a lot of activity we don't like. So what we've been doing is we've been working with Hope, but what I'll do is I'll take the entire MPO staff and I will direct them to work an area. Let's say we're gonna hit it for 2 hours Tuesday morning, because that's when we're seeing a lot of traffic, or maybe 2 hours on Friday evening. But what we're doing is trying to do a team effort, working with Code and working with Hope. And one of our former MPOs works Hope now. And so he knows kind of some of these hidey spots that maybe we don't even know, because he's hearing it from his side. So we've been super effective. I don't know if y'all have noticed lately, but the midnight young officers have been killing it. I mean, I'm gonna throw some numbers out when I get to talk, but I want y'all to know they have made several arrests lately that have dropped auto thefts. Like, we were averaging 16 to 25 a week. Last few weeks running, it's been 4, 5, 3, and it's all part of working together. So just my people are doing great. I mean, I like the chief said, we're excited. When you see a bunch of young officers going out there and just working, you just got to sit back and smile.
Fort Worth has an active Code Blue Citizen Patrol program. Just wondering if that works into your plans for Fort Worth Police in the future?
We couldn't do half the things we do without you and without those plans. That's a gift. There's not a station that I've visited where I don't run into folks that are sacrificing and volunteering and doing things for us. So absolutely, that continues to play a part. I know how important you are to the commander. Like, I know how you are. Like, I really want our command. I mean, I know there's differences, but I mean, from a 64,000 foot level, I want our commanders, really, they're the chiefs of their divisions, right? And they need these resources. And so, no, I hear, I hear unbelievable positive things about the interaction, the collaboration, and how much you help. So, no, 100%.
I didn't know if the other city had a program like that.
That other city. We're not talking about that other city anymore. We're talking about our city. Hey, listen, I'm going to get out of here in a little bit here, but I just wanted to thank everyone for being here.
What can we do to support you?
Be here. These meetings are incredibly important. What I will say this is, if you like what we're doing, if you're supportive, you always see when there's negative things that occur and happen, right? You get a myriad of folks that will line up on things that they may not know all the facts to, right? Be loud for us. If you like what we're doing, if you support us, be loud for us. Yes, if we need you at a council meeting, be loud for us. If we need you to get a hold of your council member or the mayor, be loud for us. If you want to go to the media and tell them how much you support the department, be loud for us. Because unfortunately, sometimes we cannot be, I know the vast percentage of the city supports us. We cannot be the silent majority of support. If ever law enforcement needs loud, vocal support of those that truly support us, we need you to be loud about it. That's what you can do for us. All right, listen, again, pleasure, excited, thank you.
Commander Kenjura came up here, and I was fortunate enough to be asked to interview the candidates for this position. And when he came up here, he and I sat down and talked a little bit, and I found that I have never, ever had a conversation less than 10 minutes with him, and that's just about how's the weather, This guy is so knowledgeable in so many different ways, and he is so positive about the future of this area, the North Division area. He's got great people that support him, Lieutenant Ludmer and Lieutenant Wright, and all of the MPOs. So I'm going to let you hear from the guy that keeps us safe every day.
My daughter lives up here with my brand new grandson, my only grandchild. So if, people say they got a vested interest, look, I got a vested interest. My wife's, worked North Division before I did, at the old substation off of Beach, and then opened up the new building. She was the #1 gun case detective as far as B&Bs for years up here. She was property crimes detective, and she had a vested interest here. She promoted, they moved her, but we love North Division. So that being said, what's coming? Well, we grew went up about a square mile and a half last Tuesday. So that took, and I'm going to give you all a little bit of some data. So currently there's 6 divisions in Fort Worth. The smallest division, obviously Central, most densely populated, runs about 27 square miles. Then you come up with East and West, which were respectively about 53, 54 square miles. So that's 3. Then you have Northwest and South, which are respectively about 61 for Northwest and 62 for South. Now South's growing a little bit, so is Northwest. North Division, as of Tuesday, is 82 square miles. We have 260,000 people north of the Loop. And growing. There's a lot more to come in the next 10 years, especially west of the Speedway, up 287 corridor between 287 and 35. We're in 3 counties. We border 9 cities. So a lot going on. We have 3 school districts. We got a lot of traffic issues. I think I came up here 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. And in that 2 years, Rusty, I think we're looking at 40 to 50,000 people that came in.
That's exactly right.
And we're not slowing down. North Division North Division as a whole, Hillwood specifically, the airport, the port, inland port for BNSF, is the world standard for multi-purpose development. When you look at industrial, light industrial, commercial, residential, retail, world standard. There's no growth like it. Respectively, we also have the best pool of employees. We have the greatest concentration of qualified people in North Division. So as a community, there's nothing stronger. He was talking earlier about the areas of certain cities and what we're going to go as far as mapping these hotspot areas. So for an area to qualify as one of those hotspot areas, you have to have, let's use the number 10 ag assaults, 10 murders, 10 this in this small area. Well, I did a little research. There's no area in North Division that would qualify for that if you took the data of the last 50 years.
Wow.
There's no one spot the size of 2 football fields that would qualify. Not one. And that's a testament to our community. I mean, we help. We answer calls. We go after people that are committing crime. But that's y'all. That's your community. That's what you have. Because I laugh all the time because North Division is so multicultural, so different, so many diverse people. I mean, truly, we've had some large meetings on some topics, and I remember counting one time of the speakers, just the speakers, they represented 12 different countries of origin. And I was like, man, how great is that? Like, we live in the best area. We have the largest police division in the world, and I'm going to keep saying that till somebody proves me wrong, by square miles. Now, population-wise, of course, New York, there's some other places that have a denser population, but 82 square miles and growing, we are definitely the largest police division in the world that I've found. Now, someone may dispute me, but like the mayor said, roll with it till they prove you wrong. But no. But, you know, and I look at our crime, and I look at crime in other cities, and I'm not just going to talk about North Division, I'm talking about the city of Fort Worth as a whole. The chief meets with us 3 times a week. We meet on Monday, we meet on Friday, we meet on Thursday. Mondays, we talk about what happened over the weekend, violent crime. Hey, what happened? What do we need to address? Is there anything that can continue with that? On Friday, we talk about the whole week. We say, what's trending? What's our issues? Whether it be property crime, violent crime, whatever. What do we need to address? And so we go in these meetings, and that, you know, and I don't have a lot, and I'm super proud of that with the violent crime, and we stay on top of it. But my other divisions, the other divisions, they don't have a lot either. It's 4 crimes, maybe 5 crimes, you know. And in homicide, even homicide, which is the pinnacle of what we do, that's always what we want to prevent. There's no one even close to us in the top 10. Not even close. The chief's talking about the safest city. Well, I mean, run the numbers. You know, run the numbers. Look at Fort Worth, how great it is. Look at where we're at. And we're only getting better. So I generally am not a big statistician guy when I talk, and I don't give a whole lot of numbers. But every once in a while I like to pull them out, and I like to brag if this internet will come up and I can pull it up. So just for going like year to date in categories, our aggravated assaults are down. Our aggravated assault family violence, which is our biggest driver up here. When you talk about violent crime that's reported, it is family violence, and it's on each other. So currently, year to date, we're 17.6% down on that. That's our number one driver. Overall, aggravated assaults, which we don't have a lot, we're only down. We're up 1.1%. And I'm going to tell you what those are. Road rage. People showing other people their gun. Yep, they get mad, they get frustrated in traffic. And I say that, spread that amongst people. If somebody's acting weird, calm down. back off, go somewhere else. Don't engage people like that. That is the single driver for our overall ag assaults. It's not necessarily that someone is injured or something. It's just, oh, I got a gun. And then, well, you got a gun? This is Texas. I got a gun too. You know? So but we see a lot of that. Billy, back me up. Corey will tell you those are our issues. Then you get down into the property crimes. So this year to date, we are down 41.8%. Hold on, nope, wrong. That's wrong. That's a different. We're down 35.6. 35.6. That is huge when you talk about over the last couple of years, because crime is directly proportionate to population. The more people you have, the more, especially property crime. And a lot of our actors are from outside our division. Now, we did catch one the other night that lived in our division. We kind of didn't know who it was, but we finally got him, and we found out when we got him, things plummeted. That was fantastic job by Midnight Patrol. Let's see, burglary of a residence, that is down 10%. Burglary of a building, down 34%. Burglary of a vehicle is down 15%. I can't tell you how big that is, because when you're talking about so many more people moving in, and that's a juvenile driven crime. They pull on doors, they get changed, not necessarily breaking anything, it's just burglary of a vehicle. But super proud of that. Shoplifting is down 59.5%. And that's our residential area. So that means it's pretty safe to shop. Pretty good. Good for our retailers on that side. Theft overall is down 20.8%. Overall property crime totals, when you lump everything in together, that's anything from somebody stealing the garden gnome out of somebody's yard, that's down 15%. So all offenses across the board, we're down 14.6%, with 2 years of unprecedented, unexpected growth. And that is nothing to do with me. That is my troops, the men and women out there busting their tail. And we have such an energized group up here. We're big. That's what limits us in how fast we respond. But those guys, when they don't have a lot of calls at night, they're out looking to keep your neighborhood safe. They are being super proactive. We're averaging a good arrest every few days. And for us, a good arrest is something that impacts a neighborhood or impacts, a specific crime. And those totals, that's what's making it come down. So energy's great. I really like the new chief. I really like the old chief. Neil was a great guy. Eddie's a great guy. A little different. Neil brought our department forward and was the best set up person in the world for Chief Garcia to come in and tweak. To tweak. So how fortunate we are, blessed, just absolutely blessed to have both of them. As you can tell, Chief Garcia is very operationally minded, which the troops love. They want to be able to get out there and not fear that their main boss is going to be like, well, I don't want you doing too much here, too much there. He's like, you got an issue? You guys go solve it. Does your community want something? Make it happen. Are your people saying, hey, look, I've got a problem with this? He expects results. And I super clear vision. Communication has drastically improved in policing over the last 5-6 years, especially in this department, and we're only getting better. We have the Regional Crime Center that's coming soon, which I kind of wanted to touch on your question about how often we talk. So when the Regional Crime Center comes on board, you're going to have representatives from other police departments embedded in our police department. So we're all going to be talking. And that's not just, hey, we're here to give information. That's here, we have access to your system. So if your system says burglar 1, 2, and 3 have been operating here, and we see something similar, it's plugged in. So we can go directly to those detectives and get that information. And I think there's 24 cities that are involved in that. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. That's what they're working on. It's built up. But when the chief was talking about what we have as far as technology, how we've spent our money wisely, we're about to show the world something tremendous. And it's all working together. It's all about, because the chief said we're going to be fully staffed 1906 next year. When Dallas hit 1 million people, they were over 3,000 officers. We're doing that right now with half, a little over half. That's a testament to how hard your police work for you, And I don't know the exact numbers, but I can tell you, y'all should know by driving around your neighborhoods how many officers actually live in North Division as well. So we're vested all the way across. We're all together in this. Trying to think of anything good before I take questions that I.
What's going on up at the airport?
Oh, Rusty.
You had to do it.
There may have been this little rumor about us getting a new station further up north. The rumor is true. We're days, maybe weeks from staffing it. We had a little delay in construction. We have some bathrooms to build, but we have bathrooms downstairs. We got that AT&T switch put in last week, so we're just waiting on computers. But very soon, we will have a police substation. The Perot Field Police Substation will be up there at Alliance Airport. And what that does, everybody goes, well, what does that mean? That cuts travel time in half. It's only 6 beats. We're looking at all the Frank District MPOs. So if you're north of Keller Hicks, Bonds Ranch, and you're an MPO, you'll office out of that building. But that saves the MPOs time traveling. They don't have to come back here. Their boss will be there. The MPOs will be there, as well as all the Frank District officers. So right now, there's 6 beats up there. Hopefully, as numbers grow, we'll have more and more people. But that saves us, at least 50% of their travel time. They don't have to go back to the main station over there, which we like being together. And if we had envisioned when we built Riverside that we would grow this big, I'm sure it would have been more centrally located. But when Riverside was built, when it was planned and built, there was a tenth of the development of far north Fort Worth. So you do what you can when you can. But I'm pleased to say that we should have that up and going very shortly. I don't want to give it an exact date, because if you do, you're going to be disappointed. But I can tell y'all, it is so close, I can smell it. And we're excited. We're super excited. And we've gotten some more,
One of the things that was underlying this is when he had this all set up, he and I talked about it, and he had the whole thing scoped out. And he went to Councilman Blaylock.
Yeah.
And the word was there's no money. Councilman Blaylock said, there's money, and we're going to get it. And he got it. And here we are.
Yeah, this is the first project that had all the money for it before I started the project. Like, they said, hey, the money's in the bank. Give me the numbers for the project. And we're
an idea of what he had was and how well he shaped the idea before he took it to anybody.
Well,
So it was a no-brainer for the councilman to say, I'll find the money.
and we have to grow. It's about, we're 6 divisions now. If you would ask me, Sean, what's your opinion? Just my opinion. I would say we'll have 10 divisions in the next 15 years because we're big. West is growing, South is growing, Northwest is growing, North is growing. Now, I will tell y'all, of the proposed annexations for the city long term, over 50% of those are just in North Division. The others are divided amongst the other divisions. So we're going to get even bigger. And when you talk about, well, how big is that? Waco is 88 square miles. They have 175,000 people. We're 82 square miles and growing. We'll pass them square miles wise very shortly. And we have 260,000 people. So, and that's one police division. And when you look at it, they have 259 officers that service Waco. Now that's detectives, that's everything. And we have detectives, we have, but we have 135 souls in our building. That's detectives, that's MPOs, that's everything. So they're doing a great job with what they have. We've got more people. We're actually running an overage in personnel for what we're allocated right now by 2, which pleases me to no end. And we've got several classes in training. The chief didn't tell you all this, but I think next week, all told in training, is over 100 trainees will be in the Bob Bolin Training Center because they're starting a new class next week. So that's 100 people in the pipeline right now. And we still have 4,000-ish applications coming in for the next test. And when I ran the academy, if I got 10% out of everybody that applied, I was extremely happy. If we get 10% out of 4,000, I might throw a parade. I mean, because and how fast can we get them trained? I mean, I know the city supports us. I know the city sees the need, but we have to grow, and safety and commerce are directly related. If we don't have one, we don't have the other. Now, we have to do our job correctly. We have to be the good partners that we are, but we're only a small part of that. It's y'all working with us, telling us what's going on, you working with your council people saying, hey, this is what we expect in our neighborhood. You brought up a great point earlier, is how a small issue can lead to a loss in value to your community. And a lot of people talk about, well, the financial aspect. Well, most people, the home is their greatest financial investment. And you're darn right. I want to protect that. I want that to grow. I want it to stay nice, And I think the exact same way. I'm a very value-driven person. Like if I look at something and there's no value in it, but someone thinks it's a good idea, I'll be like, that's a really great idea, but there's no value. I'm moving on. And I'm that quick. If there's not value in it, there's no reason to do it. It's just a great place. I mean, I've been blessed to be the commander up here. I came in here, and everybody said, oh, it's just an easy cake ride. There's really nothing going on in North, Couldn't be anything further from the truth if you want to keep North in the positive, if you want to keep moving forward. And I'll tell you, my 2 lieutenants, they've spent a bunch of their career up here, and we talk every day about, man, how are we ever going to stay on top of this? How are we ever? We're just going to do it, because, we could have double the officers and still keep them busy just because we hold ourselves to that standard. I take it personally when a violent crime happens in North. So do my guys and gals. They're like, what? This happened? No way. Not on my beat. Y'all's MPOs, several of them have been mentioned. I don't know how many of y'all live in MPO Cantu's area, but that guy is like the silent, he is, I don't know if it's appropriate. I'm trying to think of a good Hollywood name, but that guy is just unbelievable what he gets pulled. We've been having a large issue with the parties, the neighborhood parties with the kids, and some stuff coming along that. And they're going to these vacant houses and just throwing a party in somebody's house. And I'm like, what? man, that guy, we had like 3 or 4 of those with some incidents. That guy dove in there and he got them all identified. He started working and we were like, what? How did you? Never even saw it coming. But those kind of things are big deals in North Division. You know what I mean? Because they disrupt what's going on up here. And I'm not gonna say there was a gunplay in a couple of them. People shooting off rounds, pointing guns at people, and I'm like, what are these high school kids thinking? You know? But having a really good person that's super proactive to get on top of that, work with the school district, work with the SRO, and keep those things going. I mean, we couldn't ask for better. All right, I'm gonna talk forever if I don't give y'all a chance to ask questions. So, give me some questions. Anyone? Yes, sir.
How effective are the flock cameras?
Super effective. Super effective. So, how effective they are? I'm going to give you an example. If you live in a neighborhood in Fort Worth that is not a high crime neighborhood and your community has them, you're going to get visited by someone looking for an opportunity. North Fort Worth, we don't have a lot of people who commit wholesale crimes living here, but they come up here to commit crime, whether it be auto theft, burglary of a vehicle, retail theft, organized retail theft, even high-end commercial theft. So what Flock does, it recognizes what's going on coming and going from your area. And let's say we have someone who is a thief or gang member up here committing criminal activity or seeing someone. Well, if that car triggers and there's a warrant, we go get them. So not only does Flock help your neighborhood, it helps the whole city. And pretty soon it's going to help the whole region because it'll be that much quicker. On the daily average, there's probably at least 5 to 10 Flock activations within the city that result in arrest of either an auto theft suspect, someone with a violent criminal warrant. I mean, it's daily. And so we love them because they're cheating for us and they help us. Now, as a result, is it a super preventative measure like, come in my neighborhood, you're going to get flocked? I don't know. But I can tell you as a tool for police and us saying, okay, we caught this burglar in this car. Now we back channel that. We start pulling up data and we go, okay, that car's visited this neighborhood, this neighborhood, this neighborhood. Then we correlate that with burglary offenses or anything. That ties it together and we take that person off the board. So for us, Flock is rapidly become indispensable, but every camera is not only working for the area it's working for everything around. And let me tell you, we have caught, several of the last murder suspects.
I can tell you right now, a few weeks ago, there's an apartment complex right across from the skiway. Guy had his truck stolen, or it was a Camaro. From the apartment complex at the skiway, the real-time crime center ran the plate. They're like, hey, we just saw this truck Camaro go into the apartment complex all the way down at Wichita on I-20. I drove down there, found the car, had it back to him within an hour. Wow. Because of cameras.
I'm in Pitt 7. We put in block cameras. Do you feel, do the criminals know about them?
Yes, they do.
Okay,
yes, they do. And that I was going to get into that is, so it usually takes a little bit, right, for the bad guys to figure out how they got caught, right? They got to get to court or whatever, and they go, oh man, they caught me on the Flock camera. So once they know, and the criminal world is not a big part of our society, and people who commit like commercial level auto theft where they're stealing 3, 4, 5 cars a week or more, they talk. And once they figure out, well, that place is hot, there you go. Your neighborhood doesn't get hit. You see what I'm saying? So it's much more of a deterrent. but it's also a fantastic tool for us. And it helps beyond that neighborhood, you know, because those flock cameras, you had to have a flock camera up north and a flock camera down south for you to get that guy's truck back in an hour. Does that make sense? So, anybody else? Come on, y'all. I know the chief, he lays it down. And the criminologist, when I met with him, the chief had us meet with all of them and discuss our neighborhoods. I told the criminologist, I said, man, I hope do you need a water? Do you need anything? You need to take a break? Because once I get started, I'm not going to stop. I love to talk. And he was like, well, I've been working with Chief Garcia for a long time, so we're used to it.
I have a question about those cameras. Would they work for traffic?
What we're doing, we have several different kind of cameras. Flock is a system of itself that kind of runs it for warrants, cross checks through system. But we have our cameras too. We have like just basically video cameras, and we do use them and we do task them to look at certain areas. Like an MPO can sit from their desktop and sit out there and look and see what traffic issues are going on. Do we need to go address that? And here lately, what I've been doing is we've had some crosswalk issues. We've had some areas where there's a lot of speeding. So what we've been doing is we'll task our MPOs to go and hit those areas for the times that that's occurring. And then if we see something that's beyond our span, like we're working on right now with a couple MPOs that went out at one of the crosswalks, and they're like, this is complete hazard right now. It doesn't have the lights it needs to. There's improvements that we need from the city side, you know, stuff that police can't do well beyond enforcement. But those cameras, the different ones that we use, and you can use Flock. I mean, you can't task Flock to move around like what we do. You know what I mean? It's kind of a set way. It looks at a certain viewpoint because it gets the most traffic by it. But the other cameras we use, and North will get more cameras that are city cameras for those purposes very soon. Like we've been working on it. They had some budget shortfalls, you know, and we've taken down a lot of cameras, and our guys are so good that not only can they build them, but they can refurbish them themselves. So we don't have to spend that extra money. Our guys are so passionate, they learn to do it themselves, so we're not wasting city money. We can just do it in-house and get them back up. We did a bunch up here that have been up for about 3 years. We took them down, serviced them, they're already back up. But we have plans to get much, much more. It's just a funding issue because growth issue, and it's playing catch up. But there's a good plan right now to add, I want to say, neighborhood of 50 more of our cameras that we use that are the surveillance targeted area cameras. It's just a matter of building them, being able to purchase them. And those guys have done it to where those type cameras are like $4,000 a piece. Our guys build most of it out now by getting the components, so we're only paying like $1,000 a piece. And that's the dedication of those guys in ESU, because they want to cover the whole city, and we're getting there slowly but surely. But North Division is lagging behind. Number one, because our size. Number two, because of need. Because we usually put them up in violent crime. But I've lobbied and I've been successful, so we should see a bunch more come up this year in this fiscal year. Yes, sir.
Can you just maybe take a note and just have a little police present? Like I'll tell you on Heritage, during the school zones, it helps a lot. If you have that cop there on Monday, and then he surprised me the other day, he was there on a Wednesday. I was like, whoa,
Well, we've been moving them around. And you have to realize, as big as we are, we get a tremendous amount of complaints, and we prioritize by safety issue, and we move around. And you may not see them on the same day, but you're going to see them.